Here we are using DNA matches. We are in part 4, creating family line groups. DNA matches can help you around roadblocks. You can overcome spelling errors, dead ends, lost branches, adopted parents, adoption. As always, looking at extended family can be helpful. The problem is finding the extended family in your DNA. You've already looked at the siblings once to find information. Now we're going to look at the extended DNA. We are going to we are going to use DNA to identify extended family for specific family lines. This can be very difficult if there are multiple alliances among families, which can be typical of rural communities and small towns. Always start by grouping knowns. Okay, we are going to use groups to identify family lines, and let's just go in principle. If you want to find people that are related to your great-grandparents, your father's line, if your father had brothers and sisters, the descendants of his brothers and sisters would if you looked at their shared matches with these people, you would find your father's line. The same with your mother. If she had brothers and sisters, their descendants would shared matches with their descendants would isolate your mother's line. Get your head around that. Pause if you must, because that is the principle we are going to be building on. That same principle works at any level of your tree. If you wanted to isolate your great-grandparents' family, you would use your grandfather's brothers and sisters to isolate great-grandpa's line. You would use your grandmother's brothers and sisters' descendants to isolate your great-grandparents' line. Now, where can you find this kind of information? We've seen this before. I bet you know. Through lines. Of course, you've evaluated your through lines because you know there can be junk here and people can be in the wrong branch. But with through lines, we can create these very easily. And we are going to create custom groups. As you see in my DNA matches, I have everybody that has different colored dots. The more dots they are, the closer they are to me. In this example, we are going to build a group on these people. This will be our blue group. Everybody in this group is going to be in a descendant or relative of either great-great-grandfather or great-great-grandma. The red group is going to be the descendants of great-great-grandpa and great-great-grandma, in this case Howard. And the yellow group is going to be our great-grandparents on dad's mother's parents. So first we're going to visit the Howards, and then we're going to repeat this process for Grandpa Matt and Grandpa John, because if they have a yellow dot, a blue dot, and a red dot, they're going to be first cousins in this scenario. Get your head around that. If they have just the blue and the red, they're going to be second cousins. If you have blues and yellows or reds and yellows, you have crossover, and you're going to have to be more careful about building your group. So we're going to start with through lines. This is through lines for my red group. We're going to have to process these groups one at a time. So First thing I'm going to do is switch to list view, and then I popped open every line. There's these little down arrows and up arrows. I popped them open. I'm going to work my way down the list. I'm going to right click on each one of these and open them in a new tab and process them. If I don't have any crossover, I'm going to add these people to the group first thing, and I'm going to identify what line I just picked them up from, if I can still remember that after clicking over here. I'm going to check down here for those words about view a common match. If they are a common match, I can't proceed to this next step. If you have significant crossover in your family, you may want to skip this step, and we'll reprocess the line twice instead. But what I've done is I've added them to the group. They have a note, and everybody down here is going to get an orange dot. So I'm going to scroll through this list and add everybody to the orange group, or the red group, which will be my Howard group. Okay, now the big myth is that DNA matches without trees are useless. Sometimes treeless matches hold the mother lode of DNA for a certain ancestor. Once you've found all the known blues and the known reds and the known yellows, you can do shared matches on the people with no trees in your group to add more people to the colored group. If you're lucky, you might hit the jackpot. We're going to go to our DNA matches and reprocess each group. Check on each match that has only one colored dot. Only one colored dot. And look at their shared matches for people that have no colored dot for that color group and add them to the group. So I'm going to go in to my DNA matches. I'm going to set the filter to be Howard's. Everybody in this group is going to have an orange dot, and I'm going to check on the shared matches with every person. Just like with the through lines, I'm going to right click on these people and open them in a new tab so I don't lose my place, because I can't remember what I'm doing from 1 second to the next. Okay, unless a common ancestor on our first pass was a distant cousin, our group consists of people that are fourth cousins or closer. Remember that fifth to eighth cousins, distant cousins, are processed separately. So next step is to check the distant cousins for the desired surnames, and if they turn up anyone with the corresponding colored dot, add them to the group. So what I'm going to do is set my filter to unviewed, distant matches, and I'm going to search for the word Howard. And if I checked any of these people and I found that they had a shared match with an orange or red dot, I'm going to add them to the group. Circles were constructed, making sure not to use first or second cousins, making sure not to use anybody that has multicolored dots. Some special situations. One of the things people want to do is process if they have one adopted parent. Again, you start with your knowns. What do you know? You know who your mother is. So you start by grouping all the DNA matches of your mother. Then find the strongest match that doesn't fit in with your known mother. That's the beginning of your father's line. If you hit a first cousin, you have found half of your father's line. You have hit the jackpot. A second cousin, you found a quarter of the family. Third cousin, you've got an eighth of the family, one of your great grandparents. is matched to one of their 8 great-grandparents. So that's how you do that with an adopted parent. What about if you are adopted? Again, we're going to start with knowns, and you're going to say, I don't know anything, but yes, you do. The only thing you know is who is your strongest DNA match. So you can start by grouping all the DNA matches of your strongest match. If you're a first cousin, you found half of one of your lines, second cousin a quarter, third cousin an eighth. Add the shared matches to the new group. Then move to the next ungrouped match and start a new group. If you happen to find 2 first cousins who are not related to you, you have hit the lottery big time. You're the sole winner. This is very unusual, but this would be extremely helpful in your studies. And the farther out you find your unmatched groups, the harder this is going to be. By fourth cousins, if you haven't found anybody, you're going to have a very difficult time, and I just check back in a year. Thanks. Typically, I reprocess the groups looking for new matches in February. That gives Ancestry enough time to have processed the Christmas gifts. Shared matches show you other DNA matches that are related to both DNA kits. Remember that distant cousins are not included in shared matches from closer cousins. Just like siblings, checking all other cousins within the shared matches will identify even more. And likewise, collaborating with your DNA matches can help you find relatives that can't be identified by your DNA alone. Remember that by fourth cousins, 50% dropout is common. Once you've prepared your DNA matches by grouping them, the linked family trees found in the group are easy to locate and use, and you won't be nearly as frustrated as you were when you threw up your hands and said DNA was useless. It's very helpful. I have gathered so much information from these, and I did this before we even had groups. I did it all with notes. So we didn't have through lines, so I'd identify and put them in notes so that I knew how everybody was related to me. Groups came along, and it's like, this is too easy. So enjoy. I hope this has clarified some of the things you can do with your DNA and given you some ideas of other things that you can do with your groups. Thank you. That's it. Bye.